Oh, I guess I hit the play button. I hit the purple live button. I was excited there from that. That's the button I got to hit. I'll get it, Rich.
Welcome
I'll get
to
it
the
at
New
some
Author
point. Eventually, you're going to have
Podcast.
to take over this thing.
A weekly podcast diary starring Jerry Evanoff and Rich Kacy. Join them weekly as they talk about writing, publishing, and marketing their books. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Monday, April 28th, 2025. We're already 4 months into this year, Rich. It's going so fast.
Really is.
I'm very happy because I hate the winter, so I'm okay with it. Now I want it to slow down, a lot. But this is episode number 308 of the podcast. My name is Jerry Evanoff. I'm one of the hosts of this podcast, and with me, as he is each week, is Rich Kacy. Rich, how are you?
I'm doing very well, except I got to tell you, at the top of this sports podcast, you really need to get those Guardians winning some more games, because I don't think I can live with the idea that Detroit might have the best team in the American League. So you need to get the Guardians up there.
We'll see what we can do. They don't have much hitting, so I don't know if we're a lot of hope there. So
yeah, it's by now, by the end of April, usually the Tigers have shown all the signs that they're going to have another washout season, but they're not doing it this year yet.
So they're doing what Cleveland Browns do to their fans. They're giving you hope,
exactly.
and then they're going to snatch it away.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let me jump into my stats, my writing stats, not my sports stats. Those were ugly last week. I'll talk about them, but let me jump into my writing stats for last week. My goal for this past week was to finish book 7.5, my little novella, and I did fail it. I didn't fail it miserably. I got really, really close. I'm down to having one chapter and about 4 lines of another chapter finished. So I'll probably finish it tomorrow, potentially Thursday. Is when I'll get it done. But, it's close. I still, if I should have made the goal, 5,000 or 6,000 words like I usually do, because I wrote 6,102 words this week, which took it to 30,303. And I'm worried right now that it's going to turn into a novel by the time I'm done editing it. It's not going to be a novella, and I want to give it away for free. So, which I probably will. Or maybe I won't. I don't know yet. Because it's book 7.5. If people are reading book 7 and they want to go to book 8, they'll buy another book. So, right. I'm not sure about this. This is interesting now.
Yeah. Well, but you can always give them a 40,000 word book, and it's a really good value proposition for their email.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true, and it's a good book. I really like this story. It runs concurrent for books 1 through 7. If any of you have ever read my favorite Star Wars book, it's called Lost Stars. It's like a Hallmark romancy type book that takes place in the Star Wars universe. It actually starts out before episode 4, A New Hope, and it ends just before episode 7, which was whatever the new ones were called, the first one of the new ones. So it spans all those different movies, and it like interconnects with them a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of off to the side a little bit. I love it. That's part of the reason I love it. And I'm trying to do the same thing here with this book 7.5. So again, I wrote 6,100 words, up 30,000. I like that I'm up. Actually, the total count right now is 30303. And I do love a good palindrome, so I'm always happy about that.
Yeah.
For the year, I'm sitting at 67,274 on my way to 145,000. So that leaves me about 75,000 words. And my first drafts of my novels have been around 40. So I should hit that before I stop writing, because it's time to edit. So I should be okay getting to that. My words per hour actually went down a little bit. I had a rough Saturday in terms of a lot of words in a little amount of words in a long amount of time. So I'm down to 1255.9, so 1256. But again, 1256 per hour is still 100 words per hour more than I was getting last year at this time, which is great.
Right, yeah. Nothing to complain about there. I actually had a really productive week. Was not expecting it, but it happened. So, not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I wrote a total of 10,445 words on that cozy mystery since last Monday when we last talked, and the story now stands at 26,961 words. My total word count to date is 93,660, or just short of 47% on my way to the goal of 200,000. So I'm feeling pretty good about actually being able to make that goal. Even if I have to write over and over again, I will not throw spitballs at the teacher over and over again in the paper. I didn't do any editing at all, though, this week. I thought I might do some, but never got around to that. And my Blue Sky follower count sits at 315. I'm picking up a few each week for doing absolutely nothing, which is probably exactly what their value is. So I just have a hard time with social media.
Yeah, every now and then I think about going back to my Facebook And then I think to myself, then I got to deal with like looking at the comments and responding to them, then maybe coming up with something else. Basically, what happens is something just hits me one day. Oh, that's funny. I'll post that. But
Right.
then, the next day it's like, oh, do I post again? What do I say?
Right.
It's just, it feels like it's too much work before I even start doing it.
Right. I mean, I posted the 75 posts, what it was a week ago for Thursday, just because I thought it was a hilarious thing to do. But ever since then, nothing. I got nothing.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to my week in review. And if you remember last week, when we podcasted on Monday, we were deep into creating a demo at work for one of our, I don't know, I get clients and suppliers all mixed up. So we were creating a demo for someone. They wanted to see some stuff we had. We wanted to impress them with some stuff that we're almost done with, but we tried to jam.
It was for that infamous Canton cartel.
Yeah, well, actually, you're close. Closer than you think. And it was, we're kind of knee deep. There's about 5 or 6 different developers. We're all kind of working on stuff that we're putting together over time. And we were doing, the people that are giving the demo are doing run throughs, and it's going horrendous. Things are breaking, things aren't working, things are timing out. All I heard Tuesday while I worked, I did not get to write on Tuesday. I was working through lunch. Again, it's about the 4th or 5th straight lunch I had to work through as we were trying to get stuff done. And, there were 3 different walkthroughs on that Tuesday that did not go well. At like 4:15, I tapped on my boss's. Actually, I found him in Teams, and I sent him a note. I'm like, "Hey, I need to leave. I got golf tonight." And he knew, he knew that I missed golf the previous Friday. He felt bad about it, so I waited. He sent me a note back that said it should be about 10 or 15 more minutes. I said, "Okay." So at like 4:40, I kind of put my head in his window of his door, and he waved me in, and I said, "How's it going?" He says, "Oh, it's going horrendous." Now this is the evening before the 7:30 demo the next day.
Oh, okay.
And it's just going, there were 3 different walkthroughs. They all went bad. They all went terrible. And I'm like, cool. In my head, I'm just done. I'm tired. I'm done. I'm so done with this. It's going to be fine. I've seen the presentation. I know the guy who's doing the demo. He's really, really good at talking and doing demos. It'll be fine. And he's just like, oh, it's going, people are freaking out. It's going horrible. And I'm like, I'm going to go to golf now. So I did.
So the guy that does the demos, he's kind of like a magician. He does misdirection. Oh, this
it's more, yeah, it was kind of like, I'm going to press this button and it's going to load, and it's going to take about 30 seconds to load. So if you can just keep looking at me as I talk about something, and that's kind of, I mean, I talked to him today, and that's kind of what happened. So.
And 2 minutes later, they didn't realize how long it took.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I went to golf that night, and boy, was I terrible. Oh, I haven't scored a score that high at that course. It's got to be 10 years. I put a 56 on the board, plus 20 on 9 holes, which I went plus 17 on 18 holes, a week and a half earlier. So it was bad. I could not hit anything. I couldn't putt. Like, just overall, terrible.
So what's the lesson that we learned here?
That's easy. It was the cold weather, the rain, the wind. Had nothing to do with my swing or my ability. It was everything else.
I thought it was just bad karma from bailing on your coworkers.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm to the point now where I just don't care anymore. Okay. Like, I'm just going to do my work and I hope it works. And if it doesn't, move me on to the next thing. It's just, it's weird. So I got home. I drove home, got some food on the way home, and came home. It was probably about 9:30 by the time I got home and ate something, and then I went to bed. I was so beat. Wednesday, I'm working from home this day. Again, this is the day of the big demo. It was at 7:30 in the morning. I was so glad it was at 7:30 in the morning because that means to be over quick. I wouldn't have to worry about all day waiting for it to happen. It was just over. So at 7:20, our boss sends us all a note and says, okay, 7:20, demo starts in 10 minutes. Everybody stop what you're doing. And nobody's really doing anything. We were just checking to make sure everything was working. And it was fine. And about 9 o'clock, he sent a note to us to say it went fantastic. They loved everything they saw. Like, it was just hilarious. And I'm just like, wait, what happened? Nobody did anything. This is weird. So, and I was pretty confident because I knew the software was pretty good anyway. I just think that the people who were watching were asking a whole lot of questions that didn't need to come up for the demo itself. Let's get the demo and then we'll go through and perfect it after that.
Right.
So it went fantastic. I mean, it was great. I mean, he thanked all of us multiple times, and he came into a meeting later on that week and thanked all of us. Like, it was great. It went wonderful.
I've found in the past that if you're the experts and you're building something for somebody, then they're going to be super happy with whatever they get because they couldn't do it themselves. So, unless there's nothing really obvious that is going to prevent it from working for them, they just don't. They don't know.
So, and there's a whole backstory that I'm not going to get into in here, but there's a whole backstory where we've done a lot for them in the past and all kinds of stuff, yada yada yada. So it went really well, and it's good for our company. It's really good for our company because it's not we're not going to lose anything out of it, and now we might actually gain something. So it's really good for our company. So I felt really good. I kind of was able to relax for the first time. And then at lunch, I didn't do any writing. I began to build a desk that I had purchased on Amazon. It showed up a couple of days earlier, and I'm actually sitting at it right now. It's wider than my old one, and it's got an L over here, so it allows me more room when I play my games. So I'm starting to need more room now, which is great. It's also a standing desk that I can push a little button and it goes down in case I want to sit low. Because a lot of times I'll start playing that football game in about an hour and a half and my back will start to hurt. And I think I just want to sit down sometime. And this will allow me to do that, where my last one was just a table. It was almost it was like a table, just a high table, and I couldn't lower it. So I'm sitting at this high desk. So this is also an option. But now I have this L that gives me more room over here, which is great. And as you asked before we started, it's the exact appropriate question to ask, which is how many pieces did I put on backwards? There were 3 pieces to the desk. There's 2 legs and two things at the bottom to keep the legs steady. It's only about 6 pieces here. So yeah, I did put 1 on backwards. And then
it was an origami desk. You just had to pull it out of the box and unfold it.
Oh God, that would have been so nice. They should make those. And then I have a callus on my hand right here from screwdrivers. You can't really see it, but it's like right there. And I'm a computer programmer. I'm not supposed to sweat. I'm not supposed to get calluses. That's why I'm a computer programmer. So, it was pretty depressing for a couple of days. The left hand was just killing me from tightening and then I had to undo them because the mistake I made had about 16 screws I had to undo. And
you always see in those period dramas and stuff where people can tell whether you're a working man or not by how soft your hands are.
Right. Yeah. So I finished the desk after work, and I moved it into my back room. And unfortunately, now my front room is a mess because all the stuff that was in the back room, I moved to the front room because that's what you do.
Actually, before we go on, I'm going to drop this in there because this is an old Heinlein phrase or whatever. And I think it was what's that book of his where the guy is immortal? I can't remember.
Who is it?
Heinlein, Robert Heinlein.
I don't know how it is.
Oh shoot, I can't remember what the title of it is. But anyways, one of the scenes in that book is this guy that's immortal shows up at a farmer's door to it's Depression era or whatever. He wants to get some work as he's traveling across the country. And anyways, the farmer takes a look at him. He says, normally I have people that show up here directly out of prison, and I can always tell because their hands have no calluses.
Oh. Have no calluses. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
So
that's something you can always drop. You could always drop. That's like a little clue you could drop into a murder mystery sometime.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. Now that you say that out loud, I kind of like that. Yeah, keep that in mind. So I moved the desk in the back room, moved all the stuff out of the back room into the front, and got it all set up here, and then slowly moved some stuff back. I got a treadmill here I need to get rid of. I don't use it. I bought a walking pad that I want to put behind this desk on the floor so that if I'm not recording, I can actually just walk on it while I'm doing stuff. I want to do that, and I like it better than the treadmill. The treadmill's so big and bulky. I want to get it out by the road. I made a sign on my Microsoft Word, and I printed it off that said, this is free. It's great for stacking hoodies on. It's also great as a treadmill if that's the kind of thing you're into. And I just want to put it out by the road and have somebody take it. So it's about 10 years old and it works.
I think I misunderstood. What's a walking pad?
It's literally just a treadmill without the front part.
Oh, really?
It's just a flat part. Yeah, you just walk on it.
I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
It doesn't go up. It doesn't go high speeds because you're not going to run on it. Right. You just walk. I think it goes as high as like 3.5 miles per hour. So it doesn't go very fast. So in the evening, I started working on this app I talked about last week, the AI app that I wanted to try to build locally to only connect to my Word documents of my books as the source so that I could ask the questions. Remember last week, I asked it things like, hey, I'm going to have, 12 or 13 books, novels, novellas, 700,000 words. Will this be able to, I can ask it anything I want, and it will give me answers. Oh yeah, definitely, because that's ChatGPT, the most positive thing in the world. And so I said, okay. So I started working on it. I called it Story Sleuth, which may exist. I don't know. I like the idea of Story Sleuth. And it didn't go well. Kind of. It was really easy to write the actual code that you download this. I think it's called Olama or Llama or something like that.
Mhm.
You download this. It's a local AI. I don't know if it's an LLM, what it would be called, but you download this and then you write code that points to your data source, and then it somehow asks the questions. It gives you a front end where you ask the question, you hit ask, and then it gives you an answer. It really wasn't that hard. It took me a couple hours, and by the time I was done, I had something there where I could actually look into the source and ask a question. The problem was that every answer was wrong. And it wasn't wrong, it was way wrong. I mean, I have 2 Word documents, book 1 and 1.5. So we have like 80,000 words and 25,000 words in there. And I said, who was the murderer in book 1? And it gave me a character that had nothing to do with the murder, and it gave me a bunch of reasons. It looked like it read about the first 3 chapters, and then it stopped.
Yeah.
So I went back to ChatGPT and I said, hey, this isn't working. What do I do here? And it gave me more ideas and more code and things like that. So I plugged in, I asked it a question, and I asked again, okay, who was the murderer? This is a simple question to me. Who was the murderer in book 1? And it gave me a completely different person again. And then it said, and I'm going to read now, it said, however, without further context or information, I cannot say for certain who the murderer is. And I said to ChatGPT, it has all the context and information. It has the book. It has everything it should need. And this is where ChatGPT started telling me that, and I'll just read real quick. It says, manual keyboard matching can miss more subtle murderer reveal passages. A much more reliable approach is to use vector embeddings to pull the semantically most relevant chunks. Even if they don't literally contain the words murder or killed, here's how you can wire it into your back end. So it was trying to show me like there's different ways that these AIs parse the data and then give you your answers back. It's not as straight. It doesn't read 100,000 words and find the answer. It reads through, it finds the relevant chunks based on your question, and then it uses that, and that's what it sends to the LLM, and then gets its answer. Right. And it's not going well. Yeah. So I said to the what do I do? I said to ChatGPT, and it said install the OpenAI client. And I was like, okay, and not really hitting me at first what I was doing. And then it gave me some more code, and then it said replace this, and then it told me why it solves it. And then I did all this, and I ran it, and it gave me an error. And the error that it gave me, where's it at? Was, I lost the error. But basically the error was, you don't have enough money in your account. So I said ChatGPT, I said, am I still using Llama 2? Why are we using OpenAI now? And I said, oh, it's just better at it. And I was like, that's what I'm trying to avoid here. So I'm going to say that I don't think this is possible for what I'm trying to do. Now, it very well could be, but from what I've seen so far, this is not possible to do what I want to do, which is 750,000 words across 13 Word documents, 12 Word documents, that it will examine and answer any question I have. And maybe this is just wishful thinking, or I'm dreaming too big here. I just don't think it's ready for it yet.
Well, yeah, I think this gets to the core of what are these large language models actually doing? And, they're not lookup routines. They're, generative. So they're designed just to be able to generate new things from stuff that they've already seen. But they're really bad at giving specific answers to questions about things they've already seen. Because it's just not the way in which they store data or store information.
Right. Yeah. So the other option it gave me was to upload all my documents into ChatGPT, and I have a project that I created a year ago called the Sam Norris Murder Mystery Series. I'm going to try that too. I'm going to upload the 2 documents in there at some point in the next couple weeks, maybe this week. And I'm going to ask the same questions and see what kind of results it gets. I'm really curious to see now again, I wanted to do this through my local on my own because I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to see the process of building your own local. I wanted to know what the back end, again, my boss mentioned to me a couple weeks ago that he wanted us to know what the back ends look like so that we could program them ourselves for the company at some point. So this is part of the reason I did this. But I also want something that works.
Right.
So, I'll get into this. I'll get into my plan when I get into next week's schedule on what I'm going to do. But that was my Wednesday night. A lot of AI stuff and just not a lot of success getting what I wanted.
And this also gets to the reasons why these LLMs are so data hungry when they're being trained. There's a big difference between you giving it a few 100,000 words to look at as opposed to the few 100 billion that something like OpenAI has been, trained on. So
yeah. So how does it look through all of that? That's amazing. I mean, I know it can do Google searches and stuff, but still, it's amazing. All right. So, actually, part of the demo that we built for work was it wasn't me. It was a different person built this AI thing that allowed the user after they log in to ask questions about our data, and it's attached to a database. And it seemed to work. Now, it didn't work all the time, but it seemed to work pretty well. It needs some more fine tuning, stuff like that. And I'm wondering how they did it. In fact, we have a guy at work who is writing another AI routine for the other side of the building. We have two halves to our building, basically. I'm going to talk to him at some point just to see what he did and see what his success rate is like, because I really want this to work for my books. I think it'd be really, really interesting to have.
Right.
So, all right. So on Thursday, I was back in the office, and I was, during my work time, I was working through some of the apps that we put together for the demo, just fine tuning. I had some graphs and reports I built that I was working through. But at lunch, I did finally get back to writing. I didn't have to work through lunch on this day. This is this chapter 11 that I had about 6 scenes in. It's huge. It's a huge chapter. This is one of the reasons I didn't get the book done, is because I ended up spending like 3 days writing just in this chapter 11. This was the second scene. So I finished the second one, scene that I started like the previous, I think 2 or 3 days before that. And then I started working on the third scene. And then I had a bit of an interruption. It's a weird thing to try to write at work. When I used to work at the old job, I would go to restaurants every day. And I would spend, $10, $15 every day on lunch, and I would write. And I never got interrupted. Maybe the waitress would chat with me briefly because I went to the same places over and over. But I never got interrupted. But now at work, where I take my own luncheon because it's a heck of a lot cheaper, and I can find a place to sit. There's really no place to sit where I'm alone. I can sit at my desk, but there's people around me. I can go up front, which is what I do, and I kind of sit a little bit hidden, but not completely. And people can just walk by me and just start talking to me because they don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just sitting there I'm not even on my work laptop. I'm on a personal laptop. So they're just chatty because they're chatty. It's fine. It's a polite thing to do. And we have a woman who's over from India. She is the manager of some of our contractors that we use. And she's over for about 4 months, and she's got her own desk and she's hanging out. So I chat with her all the time, and she walked by and sat down, and we just started chatting for like 20 minutes. We were just kind of BSing about what she's staying in a hotel really close to the office so she can walk back and forth each day. And she's talking about the area and what she's going to do on the weekend. We're just chatting. So I only got 760 words in that day, which isn't bad considering it was only about 40 minutes, 35 minutes. So that's what it was.
This is a great economic problem. In fact, it's a classic economic problem, because the question for you is, what is the opportunity cost of being interrupted while you're writing? And is it worth the roughly probably $125 a month you're saving by taking your lunch?
Yeah. The problem with where I work is there are not very many good places to write. We have a Subway across the street. I don't want to write in there. And other than that, it's, I work in the Playhouse Square area of Cleveland. So it's all sit down restaurants because that's what people do when they go out to see plays. So there's not a lot of fast food or anything like that. It's terrible. So that's why I started bringing my lunch in most of the time. I'll buy frozen dinners 2 for $4, and it's like, there, I just had my lunch for $2. So anyway, so in the evening I didn't do much. Ate some dinner. Was that Thursday? Oh, that was actually Thursday. Yeah. So I ate some dinner, settled in for the NFL draft. I mean, I love the NFL draft so much, and I haven't really watched a lot of the last couple of years because the Browns haven't had a first round pick. This year they had a first round pick. They made a big trade. They drafted a couple guys in the second and third round, but the first round went from 8 to midnight Thursday. And I watched the entire thing, and I had it on. In fact, a lot of times I'll say I'm going to watch when we're done here, I'll put Cavaliers on in the other room, but I'll put that on the small TV and I'll put YouTube on the big TV and I'll just scan through YouTube for a couple hours. Well, with the draft, I had ESPN on one TV and the NFL Network on the other TV. And that literally was unmuting one and muting one when they went commercial. It was great. I love it.
There's quite a bit of drama in this year's draft too.
Oh yeah. So. Oh, we'll get to that. So then Friday up to work. This is a day I wanted to have off, but I just couldn't. My coworker Brian had already taken the day off, and one of us has to be working at all times because we're the only two in that department. If there's an emergency, one of us has to be able to fix it. So since he had already requested the day off, I couldn't take it. That's the second straight week where I wanted to take that Friday off, and I couldn't do it, and I was a little disappointed, but it's okay. So work from home, pretty relaxing day compared to what I've had the last couple of weeks. At lunch, I finished putting the desk together, and I got it set up to play my board game. So I think on Wednesday, I put most of it together and got it back here, but I didn't actually get like the monitor. Like I have an arm right there on the monitor that's here now, and I have my laptop set up. I don't think that stuff was set up on Wednesday, but on Friday, I did finish it at lunch. And then I set up a couple of board games to do along with the podcast. So we're all ready to go here. I'm happy with the way this thing is set up now. Saturday, no golf on this day. It poured rain all evening Friday, and it was 45 degrees when I left the house in the morning for Chick-fil-A, and it was soaking wet. It would have been a muddy, cold mess again. So Mother Nature continuing to keep us in winter. Today was 37 degrees when I left the house. Wonderful. So I went to Chick-fil-A. I went back to this chapter 11 and finished it, adding a few more scenes. It's actually 6 scenes right now, and I suspect once it's finished, I will split it up, when I'm ready to format it and things like that. I ended up adding 2,282 words in a little over an hour and a half. This was, 90 minutes. I guess an hour and a half. This would have been, I don't know. That's about 1,600 hours. So I guess it was more words per hour than my average.
Yeah.
But it still felt like I struggled, and I'm not sure why. But I did pretty well with it. And then the final scene in the chapter is my serial killer. The final scene in that chapter is my serial killer kind of knocking off a character from book 3. We don't actually see him do the murder. We see him in a fake cop uniform walk up to the car just before the murder, asking the character to get out of the car. I added a little action to it, but we don't actually see the kill. And then I went back to chapter book 5, the epilogue of book 5, and I took a look what I had. It needs to be rearranged big time. So I started working on it, but I didn't really call anything a new word. It was more of a plot than it was words. I was just kind of taking notes on how I wrote the scene in book 7.5 so that I'd be ready to when I'm ready to edit, I can go ahead and throw it in there. I also began to plot how I was going to work out chapter 12. This would give me, I was down to just 4 chapters to go. 12, 5, 16, and 17, I believe, were the ones I had left. But it was noon. I had been there a while, and I had some errands to run. I wanted to play a whole bunch of board games today. So I took off. In the afternoon, I came home, played my football game, my NASCAR game. I made 4 different videos for my YouTube channel, kept an eye on the NFL draft, the Cavs game. Like, overall, just a great day. All I'm missing was the golf, but it was a great day. So I was very happy with that. And this is where the drama really happened in the NFL draft. If you go watch the video of me playing my football game, I believe it was the third quarter of who did I just play? Minnesota, Atlanta, I believe it was, from 1980. Tommy Kramer versus Steve Bartkowski. You'll see me have to go. I need to pause this for a second and watch some of the coverage here because something weird just happened. I'm not gonna, nobody here cares about Shedeur Sanders, but it was quite the interesting day. I'm really happy with it. I really like the way it worked out. You can't have enough quarterbacks on your team in the NFL, and if any of them work out, then I'm happy. And all these national media hacks who are criticizing them, they're all idiots. They don't understand how football works. You need a quarterback. You have to have one. So if you draft 2 rookies in the draft, you have a better chance of hitting one than if you draft 1. It's math. So anyway, we don't need to get into that too much. On Sunday, I was up early to golf, and it was basically the same weather. I mean, it was cart path only, so it was a lot of walking. 45 degrees. It was 35 when I left, 45 when we started. Cold wind from the north right off of Lake Erie. Took me, I shot a 97, which is about as high as I've shot there in the last few years. It was rough. It was just rough from start to finish. But after I got back, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and 1,678 words. Took me almost 2 hours to get there. Again, the efficiency was down here a little bit, but that's okay. I did start and finish chapter 12, leaving me, I believe, now with just 3 to go. I don't know why I have 4 in there because I believe it was 3 to go here. And then afterwards, some grocery shopping, played a little bit of football game, got some pizza, and then went to bed about 9:15. I was ready to go to bed about 8:30 and just pushed myself to stay up to 9:15.
You skipped over the most important part there, which is
did I? What did I miss?
You went to Buffalo Wild Wings and had a steak sandwich, which probably made everything better.
It's such a good sandwich.
Yeah.
and then at the end of it, the waitress who at one point walked over to me and she said, I switched from one side of the table to the other side so I could see the TVs. And she said, "Oh, you watching the tennis?" I said, No, I'm watching the UFL football that's up there. And she goes, "Oh, I'm watching the tennis." She goes, I go, "Are you a fan?" She said, "I've made like $300 today so far." And I'm like, "Wait, how are you betting on tennis?" She's like, hang on. So she ran into the kitchen, came back out with her phone and sat down and just showed me her phone and showed me how she was betting. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I know nothing about tennis, but that's interesting. And then at the end of the day, and then we were just chatty the whole time, and probably part of the reason my efficiency was hurt. So at the end of when I was ready to go, she walks over. She's okay. What's your phone number? And I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? And she goes, no, for the bonus points. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, the bonus points. So I ended up getting free wings before I left, which was nice.
Okay.
I was pretty happy about that. Was my lunch today. I was pretty happy about that. So then Monday, today I went into work. I got a buddy who I keep trying to get to come down here to play my Star Wars board game, the one that takes 2, 3, 4 hours to play. And he was ready last week, but then I couldn't do it. So this week he wasn't ready. So instead of taking a full day off on Friday, I'm just going to take I decided I'm going to take a half a day the next 2 weeks and just continue working on this and get ready to start book 8, taking as much time as I can. So there goes 13 weeks of no vacation. I did like 5.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a win. I haven't gone to the casino in those 5 weeks either. This is a win.
It was a good idea, but when the fail condition is that you get to take time off, I mean,
It's true. It's a win-win, really.
Yeah.
So I submitted the vacation days again, half a day the next 2 weeks, and he's going to come down next week and we're going to play the game. So this week I'm going to do some writing. I'm not going to do some writing. I'll talk about that too. Then at lunch, I still had 3 chapters left, and I decided chapters 16 and 17 were pretty short. My summaries for both of them were just 1 paragraph. So I combined them into 1 chapter with a scene break. I think it flows pretty well because it's like that night to the next morning. And then I wrote them, and I ended up adding 1,380 words to this new chapter, which again was a combination of those 2. But I didn't quite finish it. I wrote right to 1 o'clock. I did everything I could to finish this chapter, and I ended up with about 4 sentences left to go to finish the chapter, which I will do tomorrow at lunch, and then I'll work on the last chapter. So we're close. We're really close. It'll probably end up being about 32,000 words by the time I'm done. Probably maybe even less. And so that was my week. Came home, just kind of clean the house. I got the maids coming tomorrow, so I got to clean the house first, which is still a weird thing to say. And and there we go. That was my week. It was a good week. Good writing week.
It's always good to end the writing session with a little bit to go of a chapter. That way you can have, pick it up really easy.
Yeah, that's true.
Get a paragraph in and, launch you right into the next one.
Yeah.
Well, last Tuesday, I was up and out the door at 7:30. I had a dentist appointment. It was just a cleaning, so it wasn't something to be, terribly worried about. But then, of course, they always find something wrong.
They're like car repairmen.
Yeah, exactly. So they found a chipped tooth. Who knows when I chipped it? I don't even remember. I don't remember biting down on anything and hearing a crack or anything. But so they had to get their fancy wand in there and take a picture of it and show it to me and everything.
Oh, God.
So I was ready for that to tell him, we'll just go ahead and fill it since I'm here. But he couldn't do it because he was going to do a root canal. So that's set up for me in 6 months. They'll go ahead and repair it. By that time, since it's 6 months away, it'll probably be a big rotting abscess of some kind. They'll have to pull the whole tooth. So I don't know if he's got a boat payment coming up or what, but that's kind of the way I feel about it. After that, I went to drop off some blood tests, but I forgot the doctors had moved their practice. And they went from one side of the city to the other side of the city. So I ended up driving back and forth across the city during rush hour, which wasn't a lot of fun. A lot of stop and go. But
Did you drive on any of those big bridges? I watch videos on like the top 10 bridges in the U.S. and like half of them are in Louisiana.
No. Luckily, the 2 of the biggest bridges, which are right here in Baton Rouge, over the Mississippi River, once you on there, you're getting out of Baton Rouge. So yeah, not to worry about that.
Okay. What's the one? There's another one. What's the biggest one? It's over a lake.
Oh, that's the causeway. Yeah, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway.
Yeah.
That
thing is, you're in the middle of that bridge. You can't see land on either side. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah, they call it a lake, but it's actually tidal. So, it does get, it's kind of a brackish water. It gets water coming in from the ocean during the tides. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Actually, we've driven across that because it's great for bird watching. You can't really stop. There's no place to stop, but I guess my wife gets a bird watch while I'm driving. I got back to the house. You know what? Go back to the bridge for a second. The reason people drive that bridge because it takes them from New Orleans to what's called the North Shore. So anybody with any kind of money that isn't a true bohemian and decadent doesn't actually live in New Orleans. They live on what's called the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain. So they drive back and forth, to their work or whatever it is, their businesses, whatever they do. But heaven help you if there's ever an accident on that bridge, because you are stuck there for the whole day until
Where you going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
And that happens more often than not. Okay, so anyways, I was back at the house around 10 a.m. We had a quick breakfast, and then I went outside to water my vegetables with the idea that they were predicting rain later in the day, and a good way to make sure that actually happened was for me to water down the vegetables.
Wash the car afterwards.
That's right. But as it turned out, for once, that little bit of a wives' wisdom didn't work. But it did bucket down at the library when I was at the library there, but not a drop fell here at the house. So that was really strange. I did get to work at noon. I stopped at Chick-fil-A to get some nuggets and a chocolate shake in order to get myself fortified for the afternoon. And then spent the majority of the day out in the public desk. I did have a dinner break that stretched into nearly 2 hours because we actually had people there to cover. So I managed to knock out 2,487 words during that dinner break, which was kind of nice. Got home around 9:30 and now had not my addiction, but my required bowl of ice cream.
Right.
Because I probably at this point,
people say.
At this point, I probably won't be able to live without it. This time with blueberry preserves. Soon our blueberries out in the bushes out in the front yard will be ripening, and then it'll really be in heaven with fresh blueberries and ice cream. That'll be great. Wednesday, I was back to work at 9 and on the public desk, as for some reason we went from Tuesday to Wednesday, and we suddenly went from a lot of people to no people. We were short. Mainly, we were short because a couple of the people that I work with, they have kids, and the kids are out on school break, so they're having to swap with their husbands about who gets to take days off and who doesn't. The biggest excitement of that day, though, was I went to Chick-fil-A for lunch, where I actually sat probably longer than I should have, probably longer than my 1 hour lunch, and I read the book club novel, which was getting towards the exciting conclusion, and so that was good. Back at the desk after lunch, and I didn't get anything useful done in terms of writing or anything else for the rest of the day. But of course, Wednesday I still had my ice cream with raspberry preserves this time. Thursday was a little bit of an odd day. I worked at the public desk in the morning, and I took an early lunch at noon. I'm usually getting out a little more closer to 1 or 2 o'clock for noon. And I read the book club book, Heaven and Earth, grocery store for an hour. And then I set up my class and tech hours, or I set up for my class and tech hours that happen every Thursday afternoon. And nobody showed up, probably because there was bucketing on rain at the time. And the fact that nobody showed up still meant I got to sit there by myself without anybody bugging me to do anything else. So I pulled out my laptop and I actually sat there out in the public where everybody could see me writing for over 2 hours. In fact, the big boss, the branch manager, later in the day came over and goes, were you having tech hours today? And I go, yeah. She probably saw me over there just sitting there working on my computer and not doing anything else. But I did get 2,583 words on the Cozy Mystery. But yeah, you got to sit there because you never know when somebody might walk in and they're expecting you to be there. Then I was back to work after that on the public desk where I spent time thinking about my garden and how I wished I was really back at home puttering in the garden. Friday, it was one of those beautiful Fridays where a bunch of people decide it's too nice outside to come to work. So I was stuck on the public desk all day, and a good part of it by myself. I was so tired by the time lunchtime rolled around as I went out I didn't even eat. I went out to the truck and I just laid down in the truck and took a nap.
Wow.
Started the truck, turned the air on, and took a nap because we're already in the high 80s here every day.
So jealous.
Yeah. In fact, I almost overslept. I did not set my alarm correctly, and I think I set it for PM instead of AM. But somehow inside of me, I knew it was time to get up. And I was a little bit late getting back, but I don't think anybody ever noticed. I was back on the desk after lunch, and it was super slow. So I was able, over the course of the remaining 4 hours of the day that I had, to, in little chunks here and there, be able to kick out 2,667 words. They weren't the best words in the world, I have to admit, primarily because they came in those short blocks of time. So the continuity was a little bit, questionable. It's hard to hold a thought you're writing for 15 minutes and then you have to hold a thought for the next 15 minutes when you're dealing with somebody else's computer problem. And that doesn't always work out. But there was still ice cream on Friday night, and that was with apricot preserves. So the day wasn't a total waste. Got words and got ice cream. Saturday, I was back at work, and for the first time since I've been at the library, it was hot inside the library. It's usually, cold, and I'm, thinking, do I need to go put on a jacket, not to put on a jacket? But I was really sweating by mid-morning. And the patron traffic was really slow, so it's not like I was getting up and moving around to do things for people. But even though it's slow, they do tend to trickle in constantly or consistently. So I had, again, a bunch of opportunities to write, but they were only in 10 or 15-minute bursts. But that was for most of the day. So I did manage to get 2,708 words. So the number of words was great, not that the hourly production wasn't that great, I guess, if you try to sit down and figure it out.
When you're doing those bursts of 10 to 15 minutes, getting a couple hundred words, whatever it is it hard to start up the next burst, or do you have to refresh?
It's extremely hard because it's like, it's that thing I say, you got to kind of keep a thought in your head about where you're going with it. I always, if I can, I always try to not finish a sentence. If somebody comes up, I stop wherever I'm at, because that's a good, I will remember what the next sentence or two was. But anything, if I am at the end of a paragraph or something, and I get back to it, it's like, I have no idea where I'm going with this. And I just have to, start all over again. So yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal at all.
You still get a lot of words doing it, which is good.
But, it's not a whole lot different than the Pomodoro technique, except in Pomodoro technique, at least for the 5 or 10 minute break that you're taking, you're not, required to focus on something else. You can just stare at the wall if you want to. Sunday, after church in the morning, I came home. Sunday, that was yesterday. Came home for a quick lunch and then headed out into the garden, where I nearly killed myself by working in the sun for 7 hours. I've got this basketball warm-up pants that I like to wear when I'm gardening. They're all torn up and in bad shape, but they're black. They're solid black with like a red and gray stripe running down the side. And I got to learn that if you're out in the sun, it's 90 degrees. Black pants are not a great thing to wear, because I think it must have really soaked up the heat, because I swear there was a couple times when I was out there, I just thought I was going to fall over. I got so dizzy, even though I was pumping the fluids in me. It's not like I was dehydrated. So I'm going to have to take, I'm getting old enough now where that kind of thing is going to really affect me. So I have to, I'm going to have to remember that. Don't wear those pants out there if I'm going to be in the sun anyways. I did manage to get our blueberries netted to protect them from the birds, which was great. I harvested the last third of my potato crop, and I got probably about 5 dozen really good sized potatoes. And that's about a third. That's about a third of what I've gotten this year. So I've probably had about 15 dozen nice sized potatoes, plus a whole bunch of little tiny ones. And that's just out of 10 pots and bags, grow bags. So it's been a really good harvest this year for potatoes. I was really happy with it. Came in at dusk, had dinner, and then I basically fell asleep. Even though my sleep was not that great, a couple of times I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, I gave myself heat stroke. But luckily, I never got really sick or anything. This morning, I had an appointment with my oncologist first thing at 8 a.m. Got double thumbs up. Everything's going fine. So then I made it to work by 9. The morning wasn't busy at all, but I also wasn't very focused. So I did a bunch of small things, including some journaling, a lot of which had writing involved, but I didn't really write on the story at all. I've decided that I make a little to-do. I use a bullet journal. I make a little to-do list every day of what I'd like to get done. And I've decided, I haven't done this up till now, but I'm going to start putting journaling on there every day, just so I can get the little dopamine hit when I cross it off as something I've done. Then I actually went to the gym during lunch today, which was unusual. I hadn't been for a couple of weeks. I don't know why I haven't been for a couple of weeks. I just hadn't gone. And I almost didn't, because I felt so bad yesterday. I figured, well, it's not a good idea to do that. But I went. It felt great, especially when I was done doing it. And it rarely feels good when you're actually doing it. But yeah, I feel good now. So didn't do any lasting damage yesterday. And I'm kind of looking forward to the coming week because I think I'll be able to get some more words and push this book further along.
Good.
And I don't really have anything new about my running list of future things to do. Just a lot of the same old stuff.
Yeah, mine too. Most of mine are for when I'm ready to start publishing and putting stuff together, and it's pretty much the same as last week. My addicted to was the NFL draft. Again, I was listening to podcasts leading up to it. I watched almost all of it, and then I watched some stuff after it was over. Other than maybe some local stuff, I'll probably stop now and not really care about the national media. They're all idiots anyway, who just all they want to do is make fun of the Browns, which is fine because they've been kind of a joke for a while. But as a fan, I still don't want to hear it.
Right.
So I'm not going to listen to them.
Did you see where Tom Grossi did the announcement at Green Bay for one of their draft picks?
No, I figured he would because he was, I think, NFL Fan of the Year last year.
Yeah.
So I figured he would get to do one. I didn't see it, though.
It was lower down in the rounds. I can't remember which one, but yeah, it was pretty fun. My addicted to, obviously, is still evening ice cream. Although at the moment we're out of ice cream, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I'm actually kind of scared that ice cream might be a gateway drug to cocaine or heroin. So I'm not sure what happens.
Quite the leap, but okay.
I'm not sure what happens when you can't get your ice cream fixed. What do you turn to next? But we might find out tonight.
I don't know. The hard stuff. Yogurt. I don't know. Yeah.
Popsicles, the hard stuff.
Now I want a popsicle. Those are good. Yeah, I actually kind of do. All right, so looking at my schedule for next week, this is the week that I do finish this novella. I literally have one chapter and 4 sentences left, and I'm hopefully going to try to finish it tomorrow. So I'm in the office tomorrow. I will work on it at lunch. We do have our golf league in the evening, but we have like severe thunderstorm warnings, like crazy. It's supposed to come between like 3 and 7, right when the golf league is. Thanks, Mother Nature. Keep that going. It's been 5 good months of wonderful weather. I'm glad that you can keep it going for us. So hopefully I'm going to try to finish it tomorrow, but if I can't, it's not the end of the world because I think Thursday is probably the day that I end up finishing it. Wednesday, I'm working from home. I have the canine paw spa lady coming right at lunchtime to give Max a bath and trim his nails and all the stuff that she does. So I probably won't get any writing done on this day. And then Thursday, I'm back in the office. So there's a 1:00 baseball game on this day, which I would usually work from home on a day like that. But because I've got the canine paw spa lady coming Wednesday, I don't want to cancel her. And I'm trying to take half a day Friday. The only 3 days I can go in are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and I have to go in 3 days. So I'm going to have to go in on Thursday. I'll park in the back. Parking's going to be like $30 or $40 at 5:45 or 6:45 in the morning when I get there. It's going to be that expensive for a 1:00 game. So I'll park in the back where it's only $8. Walk through the alley, which I don't like to do, and go up big steep steps, which I also don't like to do. So.
My wife always makes fun of me because growing up in Detroit, I had a habitual fear of alleys. You never wanted to go down a dark alley or any kind of alley. Yep. And it was funny because when I was dating her in the small town in Blacksburg, I would always go out of my way not to go down alleys. And she's like, those aren't alleys. They're just passageways between buildings.
What do you think an alley is?
She didn't even know what an alley was.
Yeah. Before I move on, I just looked up at the screen. There are 55 seconds left in the first half of this Cavaliers game. They're up 72-28.
Good grief.
They're up almost 50. Holy cow.
Miami's just laying down.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, are there any fans there? It's 72-31 now, I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
All right. So I'll work on, and I will finish Thursday, regardless of whether I finish it tomorrow or not. If I don't, I will definitely finish it Thursday. And then Friday, it's my first half a day of 2 weeks in a row. So on this day, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work till 11 and write. So before I start working on book 8, what I want to do is I want to go through and put together the same kind of Word documents that I have for book 1 and book 1.5. Now, in that case, it's the entire book, but I want to put together a very detailed notes, outline, whatever you want to call it, summary of each chapter with all the important things that happen in each chapter for the first drafts that I've written so far. And I want to do it for books 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want to do it for 0.5, and I want to do it for 7.5 because I want to use the AI to help me plot book 8, and I want to give it something to look at. Now, again, this goes back to, is it going to give me what I want? Because that's a lot of, it's 11 Word documents or not 10 Word documents. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no faith. I have hope, but I have no faith that it's actually going to work. And it's a bit of what do you call it, experiment that I want to try. I want to see what happens when I hand it off all these Word documents and just see what it can give me. Because again, I do want to use it to help me plot. The other thing that I'll do is I'll go into Novel Crafter, and in the Codex section, I'll actually have a chapter summaries heading, and I'll put those in there also. And that way I can use Novel Crafter if I want to in their chat to try to do the same thing. So.
Right. Have you ever, when you make these summaries, do you use AI to make the summary, or do you do it yourself?
I'll usually I use the AI, and I'll just say, give me a summary of this chapter, give me the characters that were in it and the locations we're in it, but I have to go back usually and kind of edit it myself and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I usually do it.
Okay. I found that I use AI to do that kind of thing, to summarize chapters, but I found that it works much better if you phrase it when you give it to them, that you wanted to create a summary that will allow any LLM to understand the story and be able to write the next chapter of the story, even though the chapter is already written, because that way it seems to focus its intent on getting some of the details down better than normal.
I have to remember that.
Yeah, so you might want to try that.
Yeah, definitely. So this is what I'll do on Friday after work. I'll go somewhere, and the good thing about this is I don't necessarily have to go anywhere to do it. I'm not writing. I could sit at my desk. I can sit right here and do it, and because it's not like the distractions don't bother me so much when I'm actually doing summaries like that. So that'll be my Friday, and then the evening I'm sure I'll play my football game and do whatever. Saturday morning. So I wrote in here no golf for me as I have to work. We have to upgrade a couple of our systems and a couple of our apps. Usually I'm not part of this. Usually I'm not part of this, but one of the programs that's being upgraded is something that I wrote, and I wrote some upgrades to it that go along with the other upgrades. So I do have to be there for it. It'll be a 3-hour thing. I'll work for approximately 45 seconds and just have to sit there and wait for them to say everything is okay before I can log off, and then I'll go write. I'll go right after that. I'll continue working on my summaries. But I found out today that there is a chance we're not going to be ready for this. So I may end up golfing Saturday morning. We have tee times at 6:56 a.m. both days, Saturday, Sunday. So if I have to work, either way, I'm going to go right in the afternoon. Either I have to work and I go right, or I golf and I go right. And then I'll come back, play my football game. Sunday, same thing. I have a 6:56 a.m. tee time. I will golf in the morning on that day and then go right somewhere afterward. My goal for this week is to finish the novella, which I should do by Thursday. And then I wrote in here to also finish my Excel spreadsheets, but that's a big chore. That's a lot of books I'm trying to summarize. I think a lot of them I can do pretty quick because I already have plots done with all of them. I had to plot first before I wrote. So I'm going to start with the plots. It's got all the character sketches. Some of them have the location sketches. I'm going to expand upon that basically. And I want to create sections in each chapter, if applicable, where things that are going to be used in book 8 and book 9 matter. So if a comment is made, like in book 2, the cop says, well, we've got a bit of a serial killer, and then he gets cut off by Sam, who's like, my buddy didn't do it. That's actually an allusion to book 8. And, in book 3, Sam's sitting there having lunch, and he notices a newspaper article about a girl who got killed. He says, I think I talked to her a couple of days ago. Don't know her, but I think I talked to her in a grocery store. Well, in book 7.5, we see that happen, and we see the murder. And so I want to have that in there as a special note. So as I'm plotting book 8, those things are out there and present for the AI to see, and for me to see, for me to remember them there as I'm writing. Because again, I want this to be as what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to make any mistakes continuity wise. I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to say one thing in book 3 and have it be different in book 8 or book 9. That's the hard part of this. So that'll be my schedule. Again, I guess I didn't add Monday in here because we're doing these on Mondays now. Monday I'll be back in the office and I'll just continue working on this, regardless of whether if I finish these Excels, I don't think I will. It's 3 days of non-work lunches, so it's I'll probably have about 6 to 8 hours to do this. But I don't think I'll finish it. But if I do, then on Monday my goal will be to start plotting book 8, and that's something I do want to do in a video form. So it'll be tough. I can't do it at work, obviously. So. What I do at work on that Monday could be a little bit different than maybe if I come home, but we'll podcast. But maybe like throughout the week, I might make some videos in the evening of me plotting. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to figure that out. So.
Well, my week is going to be a little bit chopped up. Tuesday through Thursday, I work. Then Friday through Sunday, I have off. Then I'll be back at work next Monday. Tomorrow, though, start off on Tuesday, I have off in the morning till noon. I'll probably be doing a little bit of gardening out, tying up some more tomato plants or something like that. Once I get to work, I haven't seen my problem child, the woman who wants to always have me print out her AI conversations. I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure if she's just decided if she's done or if she's going to spring a whole load of stuff on me when she does finally come back. But if she doesn't come back tomorrow afternoon, then I'll get started working some more on the cozy mystery in the slots where I'm free and I don't have anything to do. Although this is where it will become interesting because we have finals week coming up at the local universities, and there's two major ones here in town, Louisiana State University, obviously, but also Southern universities here. And then
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so and they both have their finals at the same time. So it's going to be, when I left today at 6:00, I just left the desk. It was like a football scrum or a rugby scrum around the desk, the reference desk, people wanting room, people wanting help on the computer, people wanting to be able to print this and that. And 6:00 bell tolled, and I just said, I'm out of here. So
these are students?
Students, most of them.
Okay.
Yeah. But, there's students that range in age because we have nursing schools as well in town. So we've got students that are coming in ranging from high school age all the way up through their mid-30s and older. But I'll be at the library till 9. So if they're going to be there, I still might be able to get some writing time in. I sure hope I do anyways. Wednesday, it's a full day of work. I'll try to cram in writing time anytime I can. Same thing for Thursday. I do have in the afternoon, I do have at least one appointment with an older woman who's coming in, 75-year-old woman. I talked to her on the phone. I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into. Her brother gave her a MacBook for Christmas, and she has no idea how to use it or what to do with it.
Oh no!
So it'll be interesting to see what we do. I'm penciling in at least a couple hours with her just to get it up and running and to get her maybe on email, maybe on Facebook, whatever it is, she wants to do. So we'll see what happens. But Thursday is also the day that my daughter-in-law has her PhD defense. So if I can find some time to break away while she's having it done, and I still having it, I'm not exactly sure when she's having it. I have to find that out. I'll be watching that. It's probably going to be an early afternoon.
Is she going to mention Joe Flacco at all?
I don't know. She might.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco and the torsion of the manifold spaces in 5D time or whatever.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah,
I like it.
I should get some time to write that Thursday, but probably not going to be much. Friday, I've got the weekend off from work, and the list of things Tammy wants me to do is about a mile long. But first, on Friday morning, I have an appointment with my urologist, and then after that, our pastor's coming by to see our garden, as he's kind of a gardening nut as well, and we're always talking about it when we're there. Her top thing on the list is, though, for me to make her an experimental Hugo Couture bed, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing that very incorrectly. It's a fancy German phrase for saying a garden bed that's dug out. You layer wood on the bottom, and I'm talking depending on how big of a bed you're making, you could put whole tree trunks down there. You pile in a bunch of sticks and green matter and stuff, and then you bury it all with a thick layer of soil on top. So like 6 to 12 inches of soil on top. And the idea here is that the wood and the green matter decompose slowly over time, and it releases nutrients for the plants up above. So it's kind of an organic gardening, actually they call it permaculture gardening technique. That decomposition, especially if you're going to bury it with soil, is going to happen really quick, because not only are we hot here, but you put any wood on the ground, and I guarantee you go back in 2 days, there'll be termites in it. So that's going to happen. The release of nutrients is going to happen really quick. We'll just see what happens. It'll be an interesting experiment to see if the plants grow better there than on areas nearby that don't have this. So that'll be what I'm doing on Friday for the most part. Saturday, I'll be tentatively helping one of my coworkers move a dresser a couple of miles to a storage facility, since I have the pickup and I volunteered. And then if it's not raining when I do get home, I'm going to be out in the garden. They are calling for rain. So if it does rain, it'll be great, because I'll get a chance to do some serious writing during the day. I think right now it's kind of a 50-50 proposition of which way it's going to go. And then Sunday, there'll be church in the morning and then gardening or writing in the afternoon. And I as well did not put down anything for Monday because, again, I forgot that we got a whole day before we actually record this podcast. I'll be back at work and I'll be trying to cram in some writing time. I'm not going to shoot for 10,000 words like I got this past week because I think that's just, asking for failure. I'm going to go again with like I had last week. I'll be happy if I get 5,000, and anything more will be laying out. So
there you go. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I really don't have anything else to share.
I was going to talk about the AI, but I talked about it earlier up in the front of the podcast. So I don't have anything else. So if you have nothing else, that's going to be it for this week.
Okay.
If you want to get in touch with us, you can email me, jerry@jerryevanoff.com. The website is jerryevanoff.com. We are on Patreon. We're on YouTube. We're search on the podcasting apps if you want to listen to us. And I am going to do some of the plotting of book 8, and I'm going to throw it up onto the Patreon. I'm going to throw it behind the paywall, and I'm going to do some pretty heavy plotting. It's not going to be basic stuff. It's going to be over time trying to get to a chapter level of how I do it. So if you want to check that out, go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/NewAuthorPodcast, and sign up. I don't remember. I think it's $1 a month or $2 a month, something like that. And you can watch the videos.
While you were talking, I remember something I did want to mention to you. It's probably only of interest to you and me. And that is that I was listening to one of the older podcasts with Claire and James Blatch. And they mentioned, and I'd forgotten about this, that in Author Launchpad, there is something in there. There's a part in there where they actually have checklists about how to roll out releases and how to schedule things depending on what it is that you are aiming for. If you're doing rapid release, if you're doing slow drip, or whatever you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So I just thought I'd mention that to you. You can go back and look for it because you're probably going to get closer to needing that information than I am. But I'd forgotten about it. I don't even know if I really focused on it the first time through. So I'm going to have to go back and take a look, see where that's at. Yeah,
on my board back here, I have these notes right here. Mm-hmm. Those are from before it was called Launchpad, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was called before it was called Launchpad. Do you remember?
Self-publishing.
Was
formula?
Was it the 101?
Yeah.
No, the course.
Yeah.
Course. Yeah. So in there, I took notes on what goes into your front and back matter. Mm-hmm. So I have that, but actually a release schedule is kind of interesting because, the plan is to finish book 7 and book 8 and book 9 by let's say, it takes me about 2 months to do each. So let's say May and June, and then July, August, or May, June, July, August. Let's say maybe end of September. That's when I go back now and start editing book 2. And I think I can get that released by the end of the year, at least get it to an editor by the end of the year. And after that, it's about every 6 months is my guess that I start releasing them. I don't really know what to do. Obviously I know how to release a book, but what other things can I do to make it better or make it a better release? I have no idea.
Right.
So yeah, I'll definitely have to check my Launchpad.
Yeah, it's really a question of what can you do to make it more discoverable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go back and look for that. I also, in the back of my head, I was a member of this Wide for the Wind Facebook group, but they also have an off Facebook community, and I may go back to that and see, because they talked a lot about release schedules and things on that.
I think I'm going to join so I got the invite to the Discord for the Indie Writers what is it called? Indie
Writers Club. Indie Writers Club
podcast. I did get the invite for the Discord. I think I've talked before how I'm not a huge fan of Discord. It's weird. I mean, there's a web version which is good. I went into it about a week ago and was looking around, and I may go in there a little bit more and just see if anybody's posting anything, or maybe I'll just, I'm not, I'm a lurker when it comes to that kind of thing. I don't like to post, because I feel like, number one, I'm obligated to go back and read the responses, which, why would you post if you're not going to read the responses? But it feels like work sometimes. Right. And but I will go in there and take a look, and maybe they'll have a section on releases and things like that, or maybe I could just ask the question. So
right, and I've Discord's got a fairly decent search function, so you could if you just typed in release schedule, if there's anything there with that phrase, that 2-word phrase, it'll pop up, and then you can kind of root around from there. Okay. All right. Well, if you want to get a hold of me, my email address is rich@richcacy, and I can also be found on Blue Sky at Kacy himself.
All right, that's going to be the podcast for this week. If you have any other questions or comments, get a hold of us. Otherwise, we'll talk to you in a week. Thanks for listening, everyone, or watching.
Take care, folks.